This too is for the good. Gamzu l'tova. Whatever happens, whatever we experience, whatever is given or not given, it's all for the good. We know this to be true. We hope that it's true. It gets us through difficult times. This too is for the good. But there are restrictions to that thought and to that belief. Firstly, it is a virtue if you can say that about your own experience. If I have a problem, if I have a disappointment, if I have a pain, and I say this too is for the good, I am rising above my circumstances. I am being moral, I'm being godly, I'm being good. There is virtue to that. But if I'm seeing others suffering, if I see others being disappointed or bothered or hurt, and I say this too is for the good, then I'm being wicked and evil.
Where does this proverb or this saying or this idea come from? This too is for the good. It comes
from the Talmud, it comes from the Gemara. And basically what it's saying is that anything that comes from heaven has got to be good. The only thing that can be described as bad is human choices. Because we can choose what we should not choose. But anything that comes from heaven is good. Even in the simple sense of, if God is creating the world, even if He's creating problems for us, that's an act of kindness. He's involved. He's created. Creation is good.
In the sense of challenge?
No.
How is it an act of kindness?
It's like if my father would at least scream at me,
right.
But don't ignore me, don't abandon me, right? So having a bad conversation is better than being stranded on an island by your own parents. So if God is involved, creating is already an act of kindness. So if He bothers to create, why would He create? And that's motivated by chesed, by kindness. Why would He create bad? It's a contradiction. So anything that comes from God is good. You want to talk to me, fine. You want to scream at me? Okay, just don't ignore me. But if you take it a little bit deeper...
Why would we ever pray then? In the sense of asking God for things to change? Either because we're sick, chas v'shalom, or because we want to improve things, or anything.
You might as well ask the question in the other direction. Why ever thank Him?
Yeah, that's right.
If it's just His thing,
yeah, that's right.
He's just doing His thing and He happens to be kind.
That's right.
But that would not be nice.
Yeah, it wouldn't be nice.
Just because a person is kind doesn't mean you don't have to thank him.
Yeah.
Because you're reacting to your benefit. Right? And by the same token, if God is being mysterious, kind, but in a mysterious way, you have an obligation to be honest and to say, I don't get it. Why? Right?
And even prayer is understood as bakasha, right? As petition.
Right.
I'm asking God for something.
Yeah.
So how could I ask God for anything?
Because you have to be honest. You have to be honest and say, I know you're being good to me, but I don't get this goodness.
Right.
Give me a goodness that I can
It's a very
swallow.
Tevye-like moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the difference between the two questions. Every decent human being will object when they see an injustice. It's almost a reflex of all decent people. You see somebody suffering unjustly, you object, of course. How could you? How could you not object? How could you do this? So there are people who react to God in that way, objecting to the lack of justice.
In their own case as well as to others, you mean?
Well, in your own
Is
case,
that the same situation?
in your own case, you're kvetching. That's a different,
Well,
that's a different talent
right.
altogether.
Right.
That's a uniquely Jewish talent of how to kvetch, you know. So if it's about yourself, it could be you're just whining or you're just self-pitying, and there's no virtue to that.
You can't have moral indignation over your own case?
How could you do this to me?
Yeah, how could you do it to me?
We don't want the answer to that question. It's like, what did I do to deserve this?
Yeah, that's right.
You don't want to know.
That's right.
You'd rather not hear the
It's
answer
the whole
to
book of Job, right? Is him standing up and saying, hey, why me? Why are you doing this to me?
But
Why
on the
do
other
I
hand,
deserve this? Yeah.
But on the other hand, accepting it.
Yeah, at the end, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So if we're objecting to what seems to be a lack of justice, that's ordinary human stuff, right? It's not specially sensitive or anything like that. And also, it's not correct, because God is always just, even when we don't see it. The question, why do the righteous suffer? That's a very different question. Because after we know that bad things do not happen to good people, there is no injustice. The Jewish sensitivity says, I'm still not happy. Because there is suffering, justified suffering, good suffering. It brings out good things, and whatever. I can't stand it. Stop the suffering.
Even for good reasons.
Even for good reasons. So that even if there's no injustice, I am reacting to the pain. A woman in labor. Nobody is saying that there's an injustice here. There's no injustice. It's labor pain.
Right.
So then it doesn't bother you?
So why is she screaming?
No. Why doesn't it bother you that she's screaming?
A person who's looking at, yeah.
Saying it's okay, let her scream, it's good, it's good. It is good. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
But how can you be so indifferent to the pain? So
it's like when a child cries for something that you consider as nonsense. You still feel pain for your own child's pain, even though it's completely
ridiculous. The Baal Shem Tov
yeah.
walked past an orphan girl who his wife had taken in. And she was combing out her hair, which desperately needed combing for serious reasons, not just for cosmetic reasons, right? She had been neglected.
Yeah.
So she's combing out her hair, and the kid is crying. And the Baal Shem Tov walked by and didn't say anything. And it was held against him in heaven. Now, should he have objected to the injustice? There was no injustice. Yeah. Should he have stopped it? No, it had to be done. So what's the problem? The problem is, even when you know that bad things do not happen to good people, they certainly don't happen to bad people. Bad things don't happen. So there is no injustice. Are you now comfortable with the way things are? You shouldn't be.
So Gam Zulatov is not a statement about being comfortable.
Right.
Because usually it is presented that way, as accept and don't get so riled up.
For yourself.
Yeah.
For yourself. But concerning somebody else's pain.
But are you saying that you can still think that about somebody else's pain, even though you should suffer along with them?
Yes.
So you may still think that?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to think that. In fact, if a person is suffering terribly and says to you, it's okay, I understand, it's all for the good.
Right.
Now are you comfortable? You shouldn't be.
Right.
That's very nice of you, and you're a good man, and the pain has got to stop. I can't stand it. Right? So
I have to relate this story to you. I went to see a man who, he died years ago. He died of cancer, and I just paid a visit to him in the hospital, and he said I'm not feeling well. I'm really not feeling well. So I'm sorry, I have to ask you to leave. And I said, what do you mean you're sorry? I mean, and I'll leave. He said, no, I understand this is a big mitzvah for you. Right, to come. It was a big mitzvah for me to come and see him because he was sick. It was an unbelievable thing.
So we're not content with things being just. We want them to be sweet. Not just a good year, a sweet year. So when other people are suffering, what we want and what we demand is that the suffering stop. Whether it's right and just and holy and productive and for a good purpose, it doesn't matter. We can't stand the pain. And that's why the two questions are very different. Why do bad things happen to good people? They don't.
Bad things don't happen.
Bad things
period.
don't happen. But if it hurts, then it's got to stop. We don't want to know why it's good to hurt.
Doesn't that apply equally to oneself then? I mean, why is that? Why is there a dissymmetry here? Why is it in the case of others it has to stop? And in my case, Gamzul Tova means, you know what, take comfort.
Because there is no virtue in objecting to your own pain.
Right, I don't need to sympathize with myself.
Yeah, you don't need to be a good guy. You have to have a sensitive soul.
Right.
But with somebody else's pain,
yeah,
it's coming from a very innocent and very pure place, that you're bothered by their pain.
Is it just feelings that are at stake, just empathy that is at stake? Or when I say, see, Gam Zulatoy, that this too is good, is an acceptance of the facts as they are. It's not just a matter of me feeling along with them or lacking sensitivity towards them. I say, this is how it ought to be. Now, when I say, I would like to change the state of affairs for you because of my empathy, I'm actually implicitly, and I may not say it explicitly, but implicitly, I'm rejecting the idea of Gamzul Tov. I'm saying, you know what, this is not, maybe in some perspective, in some scheme of things, it's all good. And yet I'm obliged to reject what's happening right
But
now.
not on the grounds of justice, on the grounds of kindness. You're not demanding justice, you're demanding kindness. Here's what's godly
Like when
about
Avram Avinu objected to, and he was proven wrong, of course, but when he objected to God destroying Sodom, right, there he objects on account of justice. A shofet kol haaretz, right? They won't, that the judge of all the earth will not do justice.
But
that's not
the godly part of it is, as God is causing this suffering for all the right reasons, it bothers him.
God.
Yes. So if you share that feeling, that's a godly impulse. So the Egyptians are drowning,
right,
and the angels want to sing, and God says, what are you singing? My creatures are drowning. So, well, you're drowning them. What are you complaining about? You're drowning them because they deserve it, because they need to. But they're drowning. What are you singing about? Right? So since God feels that way, the godly instinct in us has that same sensitivity.
And our desire to change it, apart from the feeling, apart from the sensitivity?
Yes.
Is that not a rejection? See, Gamzul Tova sounds, I don't think it is this, but it could sound like fate, like an acceptance of fate. And
or a trust in God.
Or a trust in God.
But God wants you to challenge him in defense of a fellow Jew. He doesn't want you to defend him, he wants you to defend the sufferer.